What's going on, guys? Today we are looking at the Artisan Littoral. Artisan Cutlery offers this blade for $52 on Blade HQ. So we're going to go over this knife, talk about some of the things that I really like about this knife, maybe one or two things that kind of got me on the fence, and then one thing that I don't like. So let's get started with this knife. We're going to do a quick spec check, and then we're going to get into the review. Alright, let's go. Alright, so we got the specs out of the way. Let's take a look at this knife. Just open up in hand. You can see here it is a pretty good sized knife. I wouldn't call it super large, but it is bigger than medium in my opinion. There's a lot of things that this knife has going on for it, and just the brand Artisan in general. So this knife comes in at $52 as their base models. What's really cool about this brand is they do a really good job of, if you like this knife and you want upgraded materials, they have a carbon fiber, I believe S35VN for $100. And if you really like that and you want to go a little classier, then they offer titanium, S35VN, and that I believe is a step up to about $150, $160. I'll pop those prices up right about here. So it's really cool that you got a brand that's offering the same, literally the same knife, same format, just in upgraded materials. I don't know if anyone's quite doing it like that. Everything's the same except for materials are upgraded. So that's one really cool thing I like about this company. They have a wide variety of options. Now I chose the Littoral because of this blade shape. I think that is freaking awesome. I love a fuller on a blade. I know that's not for everybody, but for me, I think with this kind of worn clip style blade, it's a really attractive knife. I like just the aesthetics of this knife overall. It's really, really good. So let's talk about the knife itself and move on to some of the good things and things. So the first thing to go around this blade is the action. The action on this, once you get past that detent, really smooth. They did a really good job. This is on ball bearings, and yeah, it's great action deployment. It's not flying out like a rocket, but it is extremely reliable in the push button method. And let's try light switch. Excellent action both ways. Light switch is a little better, but you're getting really good action out of this blade. So Artisan Cutlery paid a lot of attention. Your blade centering is spot on. Great job on that. One of the things that really does a good job with Artisan Cutlery, at least on this knife that I've noticed, is I really like their G10. It's a very carbon fiber feeling. Let me get in on it a little bit. They even kind of have a little bit of that look, but the feel and the texture of this G10 is excellent. Their G10 is probably one of my favorites that I've handled so far. It really does have a carbon fiber-esque to it, where it's the point where when I first got it, I had to double check to make sure I ordered the right one. But yeah, it's carbon. I mean, it's G10. Looking at it, you can tell it's G10, but just the feel and the texture of it, and just the scratch test, I call it. If you guys understand that, then you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. It's just really, really good G10. The fit and finish overall is really good on this knife. Everything lines up really well. It is extremely well done. I mean, just nothing, no sharp edges, nothing. Even in here, when you get depress the liner lock, it does a really nice job in there. It's not causing any hot spots. So good job on them for this. Let's take a look here at Mr. Pocket Clip. What do we think about the pocket clip? Well, let's take a look. We'll get the pocket clip in the pocket. We'll give you a preview of that. So I love the pocket clip on this one. This one, they did a really good job on the pocket clip. It's a nice deep carry. It doesn't have a lot of pocket tearing capabilities. They did a really good job with the smooth metal. It slides right in and out. You're seeing about that much of the knife. So really deep carry, really good clip. The hardware doesn't get in the way in my experience, even though it does stick out quite a bit there. I haven't had a problem with that getting in the way. So great job on the pocket clip. So let's talk about the blade a little bit, and we'll just kind of roll in some footage of me doing some cutting tasks. I'm really happy with this blade shape. It's got a nice tip on it that's really good for piercing. It's got such a long, slight recurve. It's a good slicer. It's pretty thin behind the edge. They did a really good job with the plunge line going into the little Picasso area there, and it functions very well. There's going to be a couple things that we're going to get into now that I don't like about this knife, and then we'll kind of wrap things up and I'll give you my final thoughts and impressions. Alright, so let's talk about the one thing that I really don't like about this knife. Now, I've had this knife for a while, and it just really hasn't hit home with me to do a cool video. You'll notice I didn't really have a special intro or theme for this video, because this knife just left me not quite inspired. It didn't really hit me on all the cylinders, and there was only one real reason why. And I talked about it in my Freak video when I did the Benchmade Freak, and it's going to be this right here. And I think EDC with Aaron kind of caught on to this as I was buying it, and he confirmed my thoughts on, I was unsure on how this was going to play out, but we'll talk about that. So these little choils here determine one thing, and it gives you one option on how to hold this knife comfortably. Now you're going to see that when I hold it, that finger sits there, and I've got this big area right here, and it just kind of forces the hand right there. There's no other way to hold this. If you want to go up on here, your hand's going to line up there, and it's really disappointing when the knife tells you how you're going to hold it. And to me, I would almost flip these where the smaller was up front and the bigger was in the back, and it's comfortable in hand. When I hold it the one way it's meant to be held, it's really good. And this it's more for aesthetics looks, I would say, but that does kind of work as a little bit of a thumb stop, thumb ramp, and it does give you a little more purchase on the blade. And I'm okay with that. I know some people didn't like that, but I'm okay with that. It's kind of cool. However, it just tells me how I'm going to hold the knife, and I really don't like that. And there's a real opportunity with this knife. I'm going to roll in a couple pictures of some of their other models that they have, and I'll kind of highlight the areas that I'm talking about. And what they did on the other models is this was one big kind of just inset here. They just kind of took this, like if we see this line in the G10 here, they just went up to it and they just brought it all the way across and then down. And that would have worked perfect because my two fingers could have fit in there really well, and I could have gone back on it. I could have gone forward on it if I wanted to, and I think that would have been a really good thing. And there's another opportunity missed, I think, here. If you look, you have that fuller right there. If this was cut down in here as just one groove, one just uniform groove, you would have a thumb flicking ability, in my opinion, because you would be able to access that fuller, and even on the other side, you would be able to do a spidey flick. Let me get it right before it gets down in that groove. So what they did is they took away two deployment options, and they forced your hand on how to hold this knife. That is my only knock against this knife, which is the Artisan Littoral. Everything else on this knife is fantastic, but it just kind of left a little bit of a, not buyer's remorse, but it was so close. I love the look of this knife. The quality is excellent. There was just one design flaw, and that was this here. These two little grooves telling me how I have to hold the knife. So that's my overall likes and dislikes. Final thoughts on this knife. If you're okay with that, or if you want to explore a newer company that's getting into that Chinese $50 manufacturing price point, which you have going on with a lot of them, with the Tangrams, the Civivis or the Civis, and just everybody's kind of getting into that market. Artisan is a solid choice from my experience with this knife. There's a lot of good reviews. I know the Shark is very popular. Troy's really happy with his. They offer so many cool things, and not a lot of them have this feature where it kind of dictates where your hand's going to go. I'm not a fan of that, and I really wish they would have changed that. You would have got more deployment options. But their quality is great. Their materials are great. The function on this knife is awesome, and if you like a bigger knife, a lot of their knives are bigger options, and you want good quality G10, good hardware, the hardware is great, then Artisan is a brand that I can recommend. This knife is so-so. It just leaves me lukewarm. When I first got it, it had me red hot, and now I'm just kind of lukewarm with that. But those are my overall thoughts and impressions on it. I'm going to roll in some footage of the next knife we're going to cover on the channel. We'll do a little sneak peek. Thanks everybody for watching. Barry, this is going to go out to you. Like I said, it is a great knife. I just have that one option of, with my smaller hands, I'm just kind of limited on how I'm going to hold this knife. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Have a good one.